Station. Thank you for joining us on this Thursday morning. We have hospital CEO, interim CEO, Mr. Jason Edwards in. Good to have you, my friend.
Always a pleasure. Thank
And
you, Steve, for having me.
how about that young in the year is pitching Saturday, a one-hitter, huh?
I know. Well, he works a lot in the off season, and he's like his dad. He's got his passion for baseball, and but he's driven for that mound. He just loves the mound, and he works hard at it, and he did quite well. He's got some learning to do, but he'll get there.
Yeah, well, again, but I tell you, I talked to Mr. Tony, you know him very well. I mean,
Yeah.
It's not like you guys are related or anything.
Yeah, there's a close relationship.
Yeah, kind of there. But he was
Almost like a brotherhood.
Yeah, almost. Well, that's kind of like baseball's a brotherhood anyway.
It is.
But one of the neat things about it is that he told me that he was really mixing his pitches up very well, and I know for a younger guy that's sometimes hard to do because you fall in love either with you find a curveball and you think it's great and nobody can hit it, and then you just keep throwing it and throwing it and throwing it, and then they start looking for it, and then all of a sudden it's not that magic pitch anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you said it right there. Blake does a very good job of hiding the ball.
Yeah.
So as a young pitcher, and if he can develop that and develop the velocity, hiding the baseball, I mean, if you can't see it as a hitter coming out until the very last split second, your fundamental hitting, stance, everything has to be timed up just perfectly so you can grab the ball right at the last second. So he's doing that part quite well.
Especially early in the season, and nobody's seen him before.
Mm-hmm.
So you know how to read his pitches.
Right.
So, as the more familiar you would get with a pitcher, and unfortunately in high school you get to see a pitcher maybe twice in a whole career. That's an advantage for the pitcher. And if he can hide that ball well and change speed, he'll be very successful.
Absolutely. Especially being able to change speed. That makes it even more difficult.
Yeah. You don't have to have the fastest fastball or the hardest fastball or the one with the most movement if you can complement that with a slider, changeup, curve, or some other pitch you might have. Some guys go slurve, and you hear they'll call it all kinds of different things anymore.
Sure.
But as long as you can keep the batter off balance, as well as I do. You've hit many times. If you know that it's going to be a fastball down the middle, you can hit it.
Oh, yeah.
If you know it's going to be a curveball up and in, you can hit it.
Sure.
If you know it's going to be there or a slider away, you can still reach across the place and hit it.
Yep.
But if you don't know what the pitch is going to be, and then you have to react based upon a spin, or you can see the rotation of the ball, it does that split second that you have to make that decision. If you guess wrong or you decide wrong, you're not going to hit anything.
Oh, yeah. There's so much about getting in the head of a hitter in the psyche of baseball. I mean, there's so much to that, and it works.
And Jay, we could talk baseball all day, but
sorry.
the thing is though and you're right though. You get in the head of a hitter, and then he starts guessing. He starts looking for a curveball, and you throw him a fastball. And by the time he swings, the catcher's throwing the ball back.
Yep. That's always fun to watch.
That's not unless it's you as the batter.
That's right.
And then it's not so much fun to watch because you see the coach over there just shaking his head.
Yeah, I've had that a time or two.
Well, we've all had that time or two. I remember the very first curveball thrown to me. Bases loaded, 3-2 pitch. I mean, I'm thinking, great, you put it down here, I'm going to hit it. Because he was nowhere near the plate with any of his pitches. He threw me a curveball. I'd never seen a curveball. Never. And it was in the dirt, and I swung right over top of that sucker, and I wasn't even close to hitting that pitch. And the coach goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I didn't even know he could throw a curveball." I said, "I do now." Yeah. I said, "Unfortunately, it made me look really bad." I remember that. I didn't ever want to have that happen again.
Oh, sure.
It did a couple of times when I was playing Legion ball. We had some really good pitchers, but boy, you think about it. Those things that when you're young and you learn, you take that in moving forward, and you hope you understand it. There's always something to learn every single day.
Every day.
You're going to see something new, and we can carry that right into the hospital. There's always something new going on every day, And there's always challenges, but there's always going to be some rewards to some of those challenges.
Sure. Absolutely.
Very good. All right. Well, my friend, thank you for coming in. Do appreciate it. Jason, interim CEO, is filling in very nicely, trying to get things organized. But I'm going to hit it right off the bat. We've been waiting for some money from the state, and unfortunately, that money has been
Delayed.
glitched out again. Okay,
Yes.
and this is like the third or fourth time.
Yes. So we've received approval for our first set of invoices that we've sent into the state, and it's going to be just over $900,000 that we submitted. So about a 50-50 match. We should be reimbursed around $428 roughly $1,000 that has been approved, but it's been approved over a month ago.
Yeah,
We were told we were going to get the reimbursement.
end of February.
Yeah. And then turned around and we didn't receive it. Okay, it's going to come in 2 weeks because that's the normal check run time, basically, as I'd say. Didn't happen. Reached back out and say, oh, we got a glitch on our end. We're going to have to figure this out. We'll make sure. So that's where we're sitting right now. So we're trying to figure out this glitch on their end of why we're not receiving.
You're trying to figure out
yes,
their glitch.
Yeah. So I did reach out to Ron Copeland to say, hey, is there something we can do? Is there anything that we need to do on our end to get these funds? So
And
we're
Ron
actually
Copeland is
trying
our state representative,
Yeah.
in case somebody just doesn't know that.
Sure. So we're actively just trying to reach out and say, hey, what can we do to get this? Keep pushing.
Well, that's all you really can do, and it is state money, and you just have to play their game, don't you? I mean, there's really nothing else you can do. So
Hurry up and wait.
Hurry up and wait.
Yeah.
Kind of sounds like an airport. Hurry up and wait. You got to hear 2 hours ahead of time. You know we're not going to do anything.
Sure.
You're going to sit here and wait, just in case, though.
Yeah.
Just in case. Anyway, well, let's talk a little bit about what the board of directors had. You had a few things to report. New emergency medical services director.
Yeah, we hired Amber Hogan. Amber's been with us for a long, long time. Great. She's been a asset to the hospital. I'm going to change a little bit of direction with her. She's going to move into that emergency medical services director role, and we're happy to have her.
Very good. So congratulations to Amber on that. The Torch program, this is a little bit different type of program. This has grant money to pay an employee.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so the hospital has decided on Chantel Garrison.
Yeah.
Tell us about Chantel.
Chantel has, she had worked for the hospital for many, many, many years and moved on to taking a director role at another facility, but has hence come back to the Salem community. And she's going to take on that Torch program manager role. And again, those are funds that are provided by the Torch program. And we're welcoming her back. She's just been an asset years prior, and it wasn't a hard decision at all to bring Chantel back.
It was kind of like you see her and you say, hey,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
would you be interested?
Well, that goes back to family, you know.
Well, it does.
It
Well,
does.
I mean, and that's kind of the philosophy you're trying to get back across out the hospital. It's all about family. It
all is about
really
family.
is, and you become part of that family.
Yeah, it's one team, one fight, one family, and it's a family taking care of our community. It's family taking care of family.
Absolutely. Well, you're going to lose one of your family, though. As Lisa Delaney is going to be retiring. Lisa's been with the hospital 9 years.
9 years.
I have all the respect in the world for Lisa. She taught me a lot when my dad was ill.
Yeah.
About what things that I was misled to believe by other facilities. And she says you don't need to do that. You don't have to do that. You're not required to do that. And that's not what the other facilities told you or led you to believe. They may not have said it directly, but they inferred that that's not the way it's done, or you
Right.
can't get it done.
Yeah.
And so and Lisa's been doing social services at the hospital 9 years. Misty actually is going to take her place. Tell us a little bit about Misty.
So Misty is coming on board, and she's been she interviewed very, very well, and she comes with a very good background in social services. So she's got some big shoes to fill.
Oh, yeah.
With Lisa, having 9 years of experience, but I think she's going to do a phenomenal job.
But Lisa also is a community-oriented person. I mean, she's out doing stuff, Salvation Army, different things of that nature. She's always looking for something better, trying to help with transportation needs from the hospital for patients who get brought out by ambulance. How'd they get home?
Sure.
She'd been trying to work on that. So I tip my cap to Lisa. She was not just trying to deal with issues at the hospital, but also in our community that can make it better. And again, she's going to be missed. Lisa lives in Steelville, by the way.
Yeah,
So
she does.
she was definitely a committed employee of the hospital for all these years. I had a chance to talk to her at our last Salvation Army meeting, and she said she was considering it. She still hadn't made a final decision at that time. She said it looks like it'll be this year, just not sure when. I
Sure.
said, okay, well, anyway, I wish her the very, very, very best.
Absolutely.
CDM update.
So CDM, where we're talking with our Charge Master, the Delta region is assisting us with another technical assistance program with our Charge Master, and they are working through Forbes, so that is a funded program. They have hence pulled a lot of that data. So you're thinking about our Charge Master. These are all of our charges that are, when you put in anything through our item master, these are our charges that go out to be billed.
Okay.
If there's any holes or discrepancies that that need to be fixed in our system, and we have hence found some of those, and we've talked about them for years, so they're going to help us in correcting those holes, not just fixing those, but helping our leadership and knowing what our corrections, if it's a different code that needs to be in there. So they're going to educate us, and that's what we need. We need to make sure that going forward, we're educated and we know what our CDM looks like.
Is that where a lot of problems do come in, Jason, when they keep changing these codes? Because, if you code it one way, and that's not what they're looking for, okay, to pay it,
denied.
Right? But but let's just say, I remember, I think I mentioned this on a program before. Kathy Whalen was here, and it was like 11,000 codes, and then she came in and she goes, I got some bad news to tell you guys, and she had gone and made this presentation on how to adjust to go to the new 64,000 set of codes, and now it's close to 100,000, if I'm not mistaken, right?
It just keeps going up and up and up. You think codes, modifiers, all this stuff that goes in line with that. And that's where, getting the CDM up to par is what we have to focus on that.
So Forbes, working with them, obviously Forbes is your accountants that do your audit.
Correct.
Okay, so they're very familiar with where those issues lie, and so they're helping you there. Are they overseeing that? Are they interjecting ideas into that to help the leadership? Do you know what their role is?
They're pulling the data and they will be going through and actually assessing all that for our CDM and working with us on making corrections.
Okay, very good.
So it's a team kind of effort.
Okay, well, they did also provide you with the audit, the true audit for 2023, and the board was able to get that, and that is the final audit, not
Correct.
the one that they presented the other day. That's close, but there are still some tweaks that were made, but nothing of any major material
No big
difference.
changes yet.
Okay, very good. A meet and greet for the Delta Project. This is a tentative meet and greet date, but tell us a little bit about that.
So this is a meet and greet. It's toward the end of our Delta project. So we're looking at meeting. This is the new board, with the new board elections coming on. It's a meet and greet for the Delta program. It is a tentative date for April 23rd, but we're looking to tie that all in and make sure that we're crossing the T's and dotting the I's and finishing that Delta project on a positive note.
Very good. And that Delta project, it continues to move forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it could be a very beneficial thing for our hospital. Foundation Golf Tournament. This has become a kind of a big event now in town where people really look forward to this event. And you've been blessed with some fantastic weather.
Yes. So let's knock on wood.
Yeah.
Knock on wood. No, this is a huge event for the foundation. We're looking at I want to say it's the 8th annual. It may have been the 9th annual.
Well, somebody, I think, told you the 9th.
I think that's the 9th annual. But, a huge event. And I've heard time after time after time, this is the best event as far as a golf fundraiser around. Now, I'm talking about other foundations as well. I mean, I've been to Mobabs or BJC's up in Sullivan. I've been to Houston's. I've been to different ones. And ours far outweighs. I'm not trying to toot any horn, but it's like we really focus on trying to...
Go ahead, toot the horn a little bit.
A little bit.
It's your time.
Well, I mean, it's bringing the community together for
does.
fundraising for the benefit of the foundation, and it's just a great event. It's a fun time.
Yeah, it really is a good time. And as I mentioned, you have been blessed with some very, very good weather. You had one morning that was kind of wet, but by the afternoon, sun came out, and it became just a fantastic afternoon. You had to push things back a little bit, but still... Overall, when you get, I think the very first one they had out there was 78 degrees, a nice breeze. I mean, it was just perfect.
Yeah.
Absolutely perfect. And it was sold out. So if you want to get to be part of the golf tournament, you want to be a sponsor, or if you'd like to get your team in, that's going to be available on the website, I'm sure, very soon. Don't think it's on there yet.
It's not on there yet.
I didn't see it on there yet, but
Right.
but it'll be there soon.
It'll get out there. And there's some... if you go back to the foundation when it first started, this was just a one-round event.
Mm-hmm.
Now we've split it in. There's been so much interest in the foundation event, we've split it into 2 rounds.
Yeah, morning
Meaning,
and afternoon.
A morning tea time and
Yeah.
then an afternoon tea time, and they fill up.
Yeah.
It's just been a great event.
So again, if you have a team of 4, you'll be able to enter that team in. If you don't have a team of 4, don't feel like, hey, I don't have a team, I can't play. Put your name in there, because other individuals who may not have a team, you can all get together and become a team. And that's it. Actually, I remember playing golf on a team like that. Never knew one of the guys. I got put with them, and we became friends. We started playing golf all the time when I was in St. Louis. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, and
So,
you can do an individual, sign in. So
sure.
Yeah, do that.
Check it out. All right, very good. Let's talk a little bit about the operations for the month of February. It was not really all that bad of a month. I mean, somebody said we still lost money. Yeah, you did, but, I started looking at the monthly budget, and I know the budget still has been tweaked a few times. Not actually sure how accurate that still is,
Right.
because of the one. I would just say, how do I want to face this when? Not talking about a previous management company badly, but I'm just saying for them to create a budget after the COVID and all the things the hospital went through, they just kind of did a straight across, what I'll call straight line budget. Every month was identical.
Yeah.
It didn't change. Well, you can't do a budget that way because seasonality, seasons for flu, then you get summertime, you get different, then you got athletic injuries, and it's just all kinds of different things that happen in different times of the year. Usually summer months are not big months for the hospital. Winter months are usually your largest.
Sure.
And so, but they had it as a straight line budget.
Mm-hmm.
Every line item was the same.
Yeah, if you start skyrocketing, to where to try to meet your budget, and you just kind of shoot some revenues up in the air, and are they realistic revenues? Are we really looking at market trends of our community and where we're headed?
Sure.
So,
Yeah. So this has been adjusted,
Yep.
but it's still, when you take a budget like that and it's not done accurately, whether it's for 1 year or 2 years, it's because you have to use previous year's numbers to try and make it happen.
sure. Well, you got to look at market trends.
Yeah,
You have
yeah.
to.
And also different things, and of course the hospital has eliminated some services, so those all have to be taken into consideration as well. So when I look at this one, I see the monthly budget. Obviously, I don't feel super comfortable. Those are great numbers. But when I look at our fiscal year 24 average, we're now past the 6 months point of the fiscal year. Mm-hmm. So now you have a little bit of a trend for 24, and we are pretty much either at average or above average with the numbers going through. And that's what I see as a good thing. Yeah, you're going to have a couple that dip below, but you're going to have just as many above.
Right.
And I kind of find that right now is almost like better numbers than your budget.
Right. So if you just look at the trends going, the inpatient admissions being around the 86 to 90 range. So and going back, that's kind of, fiscal year average in 22, and in 23, you're right in the ballpark. So same way with inpatient census days. So, yeah, it's getting in line, and I think we're trying to keep everything, but we got to keep. It all comes down to taking care of people.
Sure, absolutely.
Keeping the services available, being able to take care of people, and moving forward.
Yeah, and I know, it was hard to lose home health.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to lose dialysis, and it's unfortunate. But for the survival of the hospital, because they are money drains.
Right. And if and staffing is always an issue.
Sure.
It's around the board with all rural hospitals. Staffing has been a lot of rural hospitals now are working in a negative profit margin. We've said that at the board meetings, and at least 40 to 50% of hospitals are going that way, and it makes it tough. It makes it tough to really. You have to make changes.
Well, ever since the sequestration, critical access hospitals have been operating in a negative profit margin.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get reimbursed 100%.
Right.
You're reimbursed 99. It used to be 101.
And you're already at a negative before you start.
Yeah. So why can't we put that 2% back?
That'd be great. I would get on that.
But I understand it. It was supposed to be for a short period of time. Why has that never been reinstituted? I don't get it. And I don't hear anybody talking about doing it either.
Right.
Well, I won't go off on my high horse there. But and like I said, just look at the numbers. So basically, you have your let's just talk a little bit about it. Med surg, you had 48 admissions. Swing bed, you had 8. In the swing bed, those length of stays for swing bed were over 10 days. So you know those people are getting good service there. Had observation days of about 30. But that's pretty much right on par. Last year, or this year's average has been over, right around 40 for med surg. But last February, 58. Last February was a lot colder,
Yep.
a lot nastier. This February, we had 5 days out of 29 that were 65 degrees or above, 12 days above 55 in the month of February.
Yeah. It's amazing what the temperature changes will do.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, my thing is, what was April going to bring to the hospital? And the reason I say that, there's already pollens coming out.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, there are a lot of people out there, they're getting this kind of thing, and it's going to get worse. Those buds are already out. The pollen's already out. I've seen a lot of people struggling.
Yeah, if you start, and it kind of shows if you start looking at the trends for this last month with cardiopulmonary procedures,
Yeah.
respiratory conditions.
That's what I
It's
mean.
going to be bumping up.
Yeah, and they were very high for
Yeah.
February, so you can imagine what they're going to be in March
Sure.
when those stats come through. So again, the seasonality, like we're talking about, hard to predict. But come spring, you're going to have these things going on. Winter, you're going to have these things going on. It's just hard to predict. But still, when you see that previous years, take 5 or 6 previous years, and you can average those years together to get kind of a good idea what things are going to be. Can't do that when somebody's taken 2 of those years and just gutted them for the simplicity of making it, we'll just say 12. Every month, 12.
Yeah.
Where do we get that?
Yeah. Where's the realistic
Yeah,
number?
I didn't understand that. Anyway, rehab stays strong. Surgical procedures, 39 during the month of February, and that will help rehab. And here's what people don't realize too, Jason, that 39 procedures, rehab was already at 628. Now that's just going to go up because those people who had some surgical procedures are going to need rehab.
Sure.
That's not the same month that you get the surgery.
Yeah.
Usually.
Yeah. If you start seeing, a lot of people, and that's not just, community that are getting procedures at ours. If they're getting procedures in other areas around us, our swing bed program is available here for
Absolutely.
you don't have to go 30 minutes away, an hour away, or wherever you want to be. You can be here with your family to
right.
get your swing bed needs.
And that doesn't matter if you get your surgery in Kansas City, St. Louis, Columbia, Springfield. It doesn't make any difference. And that was one of the things that I did not know that you could do because they didn't give me that option to send them back, to even have my dad come to Salem where I could be closer to him and get things done. Oh, no, he had to stay in St. Louis, and then they gave me like 3 or 4 or 5 or 8 locations, and you pick the ones you want. That's all I was told.
Yep. Yeah,
And
as long as the community knows that they can come back here.
Yes, and so he can. If you have a loved one, instead of having to drive that 2 hours because they're going through their rehab and they get admitted, have them come here, and have them that way. They're right here. You don't have to spend that 5-hour round trip, and it takes your whole day just to go up there and visit somebody when you don't have that kind of time.
Yep. You can be here with your loved one,
and then keep your normal schedule.
Sure.
Close at hand. Anyway, so check that out. And all you got to do is call the hospital. You can still call Lisa about that. She can tell you about it. You can call Misty about that. I'm sure Lisa has already instructed her, or Misty has already found out about that as well. So just call social services at the hospital, and they can help you, and they can tell you. Matter of fact, when that patient goes up there, if you are a patient getting surgery, you tell them when you go up there, I would like to go back to Salem for my rehab. That's all you got to do.
Yep. Contact our swing bed coordinator, Lisa Delaney,
there you go.
and Misty Ashley.
Yeah,
They'll get you taken
and
care
they
of.
can get that taken care of. Very good. All right, so the numbers, not all that bad. Emergency room visits have been pretty much 600 or right around that number, between 600 and 650. It's been pretty much the number in, I would say, about the last year or so. As far as admissions, 65 admissions, which that was over half, which is pretty good for the hospital to be able to take that. Of course, there's some that the hospital does move on because that's not the capabilities that our hospital has. A lot of those are very serious cases.
Sure.
They stabilize them here and move them on.
Well, that's what's the great thing about a critical access hospital, having the hospital here in the community. If something happens to that, you're not going to have the facility where we can have an open heart surgery or, a general surgery or something that needs to have emergency right now. So to be able to get access and get stabilized and get you where you need to be, I mean, that's phenomenal to have for this community.
Right.
That's
pain,
why it's so
pain
important.
management, and also, management will get people in a position where you can get them comfortable.
Absolutely.
So make the trip, be able to go get the correct surgeries done. I saw a compound fracture, and it was a splitter fracture. I'm sure you're familiar with these. Splitter fractures are nasty.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just a clean break of the bone where you can just go back there, reset the bone, and then they can maybe even screw a couple pieces of metal to it to where you're not going to move. Splinter, you got to rebuild the bone. And I saw one of those at the hospital, and I saw how that person was, and they were panicking, and I can understand why. But the hospital calmed them down. They got that set. They got the pain taken care of, and they said, "We're going to get you to a place. They're going to fix you up just fine."
Yep. That's.
They didn't lie about it. And I'm telling you, they're going to do it there. They can't. That is not what we do. But it is a way to get you calm down, take that pain away, get you to your destination, and let them do wherever you're going. Let them do that job that they're experts at.
Absolutely.
We are not. Very good. So, that's nice to have. Ambulance runs were actually down a little bit from what we've seen most of the year. We've been over 200 most of the year, every month, and down a little bit, but still 134 patients transported out of 188. That's a little bit higher than normal. So usually it's about 35, 38%. That's a little bit better. I like to see that.
We got to keep that.
Dry runs just kill you.
Yeah. Well, sometimes when you get out there and you assessment in the field and they're dry and you get turned around, you don't get paid for that.
Well, you get out there and they say, I don't need anything. Yeah. Sometimes they do get out there and the patient doesn't need anything, and the next thing you know, the patient's driving themselves into the hospital about a day later, which you would hope that they'd come in the night before the ambulance, because maybe that internal bleeding or whatever the problem is could have been addressed at that point.
Sure.
But again, it's up to the patient and they get to the location. If they say they're fine, they're fine. All right. Patient revenues coming in: hospital inpatient $685,000, the outpatient still the big driver at $4.2 million, and then long-term care is added into that, $5 million for total patient revenue, just a little bit down from prior year and from the budget, but just about, a little bit low, but just about where February should be, because February is a shorter month. And then the other revenues, of course, a little bit more revenue from interest now is going to help because we just got the CD3 done. I want to tell you about that. Now, that's a big change right there. That'll be a big change. And then we move forward to the deductions, and always those contractuals do a big number on the hospital. But the hospital is trying to get all that back in line.
Right. And if you notice back in the around this time, the last fiscal years where the model had changed and you started seeing cash increases every month, and and that's what we've noticed and that's where you saw the $317,000 loss last fiscal year.
Yep.
That was presented to the public, which turned out to be a $2.85 million loss. So that's not 2.85.
2.3. I think it was 2.3 when it finally was adjusted. Yeah. But anyway, those contractuals and stuff, it's mind blowing how all that works. But it is, and it can work the other way.
Sure.
Some of those contractuals where you get reimbursed through Medicare or Medicaid because you've been underpaid. Right. Unfortunately, you have to wait 18 months to get that money.
Yeah, they don't get in a big hurry.
Well, why would
But
they?
we know that from the 50-50 match.
No doubt about that. So, again, all that stuff in line. And then, of course, the expenses, some of the expenses have been reduced, which is good. But most of them are pretty much, in all honesty, Jason, when I look at it, a little bit higher than last year by about 100,000, but not out of the ballpark. And of course, the big one is the cost of supplies.
Sure.
That has skyrocketed And there's nothing the hospital can do about that. The sad part about it is you got to buy the supplies first before you use them. You have them on hand. Then when you use them for patients, then you can bill out for those supplies that you have. It's
But still,
unfortunate.
you're not seeing it for
well,
months
yeah,
down the road.
exactly. You're not seeing the recovery of that cost,
Sure.
and it takes. But you have to have it on hand, so you
Absolutely.
have to buy it at the market price.
And everything that, you would think everything has an expiration date. It doesn't matter if it's a piece of tape but I mean, and I rightfully so. I
Sure,
guess,
I get
things
it.
degrade.
I'm not sure about a piece of tape
Well, I'm
having an
just-
expiration date,
well,
but you're
You'd
right
be
though. They
surprised.
do.
You'd be surprised. Just
Oh.
about everything has an expiration date. So if that doesn't get utilized, and it just gets, scrapped, and that's, you lose that cost. You lose anything you can get reimbursement on.
Right,
It's
exactly.
unfortunate.
So the gain, the loss from operations, $290,000 with some tax money. It'll end up being $160,000 for the month. Not terrible.
Yeah.
Not obviously not good. We don't want to be losing any money for the month, but we did have a plus side last month. This one's a little bit on behind, but we're closing the gap now. Even with that loss, and that loss is. Okay, when we start to talk about the different things in the hospital, and you got FRA taxes, and you got different taxes, and you got some depreciation in there as well. That's not always a total cash loss. And in this case, for the hospital, you actually had an increase in cash at the end of February.
And you're looking at that operation, the operation account, yeah. And we try to really manage our accounts payable and make sure that we're paying bills accordingly. And there was a lot of, we talked about historically, there was so many invoices that were not even noted into our system. We paid about almost $5 million in accounts payable that we didn't even realize. So
You're kind of put in that other drawer.
sure. Well,
I'm being nice.
Yeah.
I'm just saying they put in not the pay now drawer, but that other drawer. We'll get to it drawer.
Sure. Well, I mean, you think if we started go back in July of last fiscal year, when your accounts payable pool, just what we owe in accounts payable, $1.6 million, which is not really bad at all.
No.
And we started paying accounts payable around finding these invoices, inputting into our systems. We were getting vendors that were, putting us on credit hold and be like, well, okay,
Why?
so we're getting these backlog of invoices. You go fast forward 5 months, pay $1 million in payable each month. We 98% get our accounts payable pool together.
Sure.
And everything uploaded. We're still at around 1.6 at that point, and we've spent $5 million. So a lot of stuff outstanding that we had to fix.
Trying to catch up in payments, Jason, even when you look like it's the tight, okay, let's put it this way. Doug has done a great job of the balancing act of the income versus expenses.
Yeah.
He really has.
Done a phenomenal job.
And it's hard to explain to people that, and one of the graphs you have here is how the money comes in, how it's expended every 2 weeks. Some months it looks great, or some reports look great. The money has come in. Maybe a bunch of money has come in that day. Maybe you got your Medicare and your Medicaid money all came in that 1 month. Man, it looks fantastic. Hospital's on its way back. And then you don't get any real substantial money in for the next 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But you got almost $1 million to pay.
Yep. That doesn't go away.
Well, it doesn't go away. And the thing is, when people take a look at it and say, oh, my God, the hospital's in trouble. All right, guys, you can't look at a day-by-day operations and say, all right, this is what we need to do, and this is what we need to do. You can, but it's not a good gauge of where you are.
Right.
Because, especially in the hospital world, I got a bill from the hospital for my deductible. My $226 deductible. It was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But I paid it right away. But here's the thing. I also looked, I don't know, and I don't know if you have this answer, but I was in the hospital twice last year, okay? Those bills are just coming to me now. Not from the hospital, but from CMS.
Right.
So if they're getting to me now to check over to make sure there's no discrepancies, have you been paid for that yet? I bet you say no. I bet you.
If I was an educated guess, I would say no.
Yeah. So you're still waiting on
It's
my
a waiting
hospital.
game. It's always a waiting game.
So when a hospital can't bill me my deductible until they know what CMS is going to pay. Well, they can't.
Right. It's a waiting game.
Yeah. So
I mean, unfortunately, but we're not the only hospital that has to do it.
No, I understand it, but I'm just trying to give our listeners a little idea. So I was in the hospital in November and again in December. So this is March, and you haven't probably been paid for my service, for the service that was given to me yet. And if you have, you're just getting it.
Yeah, that's when it takes our revenue cycle and our billing office to continuously stay on top of that. Yeah. And we have so many claims that you just got to keep working the process, and there's sometimes you can get a backlog. Depends on, it comes down to staffing. Do you have appropriate staffing to be able to get those bills out the door and get it to insurance, get it processed, make sure there's no key errors. Once you get, and you always hear the term garbage in, garbage out. If you key something wrong, or you don't have the proper insurance, or if you've missed a birth date number that is wrong, it's going to get kicked back into denial. So then the process starts all over again.
So a lot of people have said this has been our billing department problem, okay? So the hospital sent me a bill for the deductible that I have to pay, but of course CMS has to look at it first to see if all of it qualifies, it's good. Yeah. So the hospital didn't know I hadn't paid a deductible for that from Medicare, so I had to pay that. And somebody will say, well, the hospital billing is slow. The same day, I got the bill from the radiologist to read the stuff because that's not part of the hospital's deal.
Correct.
Well, that was the same time as my admission to the hospital. So they're not getting it until they get reports back from CMS as well that this has not been paid.
Right.
So it's not the hospital billing there. I'm thinking those bills, they came in on the same day.
So comes back to the waiting game.
It is a waiting game.
It's time to process.
But I just want to say, though, then the billing department, once they get notified by CMS that it's not going to be paid, then they send out that bill to be paid for their portion of my stay. Radiologists got the same thing. Now they're getting paid for their portion of what they did. That's 4 months after the fact.
Correct.
So we're talking not 50, 60 days, 2 months. We're talking doggone probably close to half a year before you might get your money from a Medicare patient.
Yep. And business still goes on. You still got to buy supplies, reagents, all that.
Exactly. And that's the point I was trying to make.
Yep.
You buy the supplies, your creditor gives you 30 days. Mm-hmm. You get services, and you're not going to get paid for 180 days. You know how tough that is to balance that out? And that's why I said, when I talk to Doug, and Doug does the job he does, keep up, my friend.
Yep.
He's
an asset.
That's a balancing act that I can't see any accountant want to do. Because, how do you justify some of that stuff? I mean, it's hard.
Right.
It's hard.
Well, no, he does a phenomenal job and keeps us, he and I, we do a lot of stuff together, and we don't see eye to eye all the time, and but I couldn't do without him.
Yeah, he's a good guy, really good. I was sad when he left the first time, and I'm glad when he came back.
You bet.
All right, let's. And like I said, we go through the income statement, the balance sheet. The hospital's in pretty good shape. They're due to a glitch in the one note payable. It's been moved up to current from long-term status. Hospital's still working on all that. It's fine. Somebody says, what happened to long-term liability? Because of the payment schedule, if you get off 1 month, basically, they can declare it. They can declare it a current liability.
Right. It's just how it's put into the...
It's an accounting designation.
Yes.
That's all it is. Anyway, but the expenses, as we were talking about, I did want to touch base on this, and when I talked about supplies, $347,000 in the month of February. Prior February is $248,000, and budget was $295,000. And it doesn't matter what you budget in these supplies. Every month, it seems like something else goes up. Yep. Even if something levels out, they're not going back to the prices of 2019, are they?
No, absolutely not. Everything always goes up and up.
What I mean, though, but once COVID hit, it kind of opened a door where they could just jack these prices almost at will.
Yeah. And then, supply and demand. Yeah. It goes to supply and demand. If you start seeing an increase in anything, there's going to be a demand.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Very good. All right. So as we're talking about, a little bit of a loss, but cash-wise, we did have a positive number.
Yep.
That was very good. 21,000 something, I think it was. Very good. We'll take it.
Yep.
Anything that's positive and moving forward, we will take for sure. All right, let's quickly go over the clinic. The clinic did have a loss for the month, but they've had a pretty good overall fiscal year.
Right. Yeah. If you look at the overall net profit, I mean, you're looking at a year-to-date around $77,000. So, I mean, and you're projecting a loss almost all the time for the clinic. So there's a lot, but there is a lot of indirect costs that are not in there when you think about benefits and stuff. But, to have a positive number there, that's a good sign.
But just like the hospital, contractual
adjustments
have to be made, and that's what really hurts.
Mm-hmm.
That's what really takes the money away from the clinic, rather than some of those benefits, which, I mean, you can't just ignore, but still at the same time. But $77,000, that's nothing to sneeze at when you had 2 straight months with showing a loss. And so,
sure.
Obviously, they've been doing well. Keep up the good work. The clinic does a great job. Remember, they have a walk-in clinic Saturdays as well, 9 to 2. You don't need to make an appointment. If you got feeling ill, get hurt, do something weird, out there raking leaves, picking up branches from the storm or whatever, and all of a sudden you tweak your back, don't sit there and say, I'll get to it Monday.
Yeah. You don't have to worry about taking off work through the week if you need to go see it. You can just go right in on Saturday.
Just go in on Saturday. Very good. All right, well, let's go to the CD schedule. Obviously, we talked a little bit about it. The CD schedule, you had CDs of $400,000 sitting at 0.07%.
Right.
Well, that was just a killer.
Yep.
That was just making you all kinds of money.
Yeah. Oh, we were breaking it in hand
$28.
Yeah, so with the board approval, we elected to go into and put those in a 9-month. So, I mean, we had a 5.05, and they gave us a great rate on that. So, and all of our CDs will mature at the same time.
Right, and the Bank of Salem did a great job negotiating with the bank to try, with the hospital, to try and help you get the maximum money that you can.
Yeah.
Because it would have been, if you did them individually, like you had 3 CDs, it'd have been less than 5.
Yep. So that was, we really do appreciate Bank of
All
Salem.
right, very good. 340B Pharmacy, after the adjustment in the month of January, you're moving forward. It did show a profit again this month, but it should start actually maximizing it a little bit higher, should it not?
That's what we're trained to with our consultants, working and optimizing that program. So we'll hopefully see some low-hanging fruit come in with that, with the 340B.
Very good. Days cash on hand, 23, still not where you want to be, but I think it was reported to me was 26 and a half.
Yeah, now we're above 27 today. So, I mean, this is an ever-fluid number. So when you see that 23 days, that's a snapshot in time. That's not a trend. So if you look at the gradual over time, you're starting to see a gradual increase in trend, and that's where we want to hit.
And that's what we were talking about before. That 21,000, profit. Yeah, hospital's a $10 million business. 21,000 doesn't sound like much, but if you had a profit of 21,000 every month for 12 months, well, that's a profit of almost $300,000.
Yep.
When you get to the very end, at least 250.
Well, we're being a nonprofit, we're in it to bounce that bubble. So.
Well, a nonprofit just means when you do start to make excess profits, you got to put them back into the hospital, which does need some work done to it, and we all know that. And but it's got to get through this time. We just have to get back on our feet.
Yep.
The CNO report, we still need some nurses.
Always need nurses. We do have. Ashley had reported the CNO report, and we do have some night positions available and some open positions in ER and EMS and just various PRN and LPNs. And so if you're out there and you're looking to join a family, hey, come on, we'll take you.
And they had a chance to go to the ECC Rolla Career Fair, and that's talking some youngins coming into play, and also the early stage of getting an annual nursing skills lab, and that should be interesting.
Sure. When you start looking at educating our future, if you get them input into rural health, and, I'm a born and raised Salem guy, we easily could go out and branch out into, the St. Louis, the Springfields, the cities.
Sure.
But I love rural health. I love my community. So, and I think there's other people like that. So to be able to educate our own and train our own in-house, what better way?
Actually, that's a better way of doing it, because you know as well as I do, Jason, if you're acclimated to this area, you're going to be much more at ease than coming out of a stressful situation like St. Louis, and then they come here and then they, I don't say get bored, but they're like, well, this is so slow compared to, well, yeah, it's slow compared to that. You go into a Mercy on a Friday night, and they're waiting room in the ER is like 300 people.
Mm-hmm. Waiting about 4
gunshots, knife wounds, different things of that nature, and you come here and you don't have that, and like, well, I always had a patient waiting. Well, yeah, isn't that always a good thing?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, if it's an illness, yes, but if it's injury for some reason, I hated to see that.
Sure.
There is a focus, though, on the registration process, and I think that was brought out at the meeting to make sure that the people we have in registration are doing an exceptional job, because that's where it all has to start.
It all begins.
You know, if they register them wrong or there's improper information there, screws up the whole thing. So, you know, they're really working on that and trying to get that. That's kind of been a focus on what they're really working on with human resources, et cetera, as well. So, very good there. 3 new hires in February. 6 people left the hospital. Mm-hmm. And in the chief of staff's report, we move forward.
Yep.
They get basically everything that the board gets.
Correct.
They also did pass medical staff bylaws with no changes.
Correct.
And they also approved the updated critical lab values. What was the updation to the lab values?
So
do you know?
our pathologists, along with our lab, they have just updates in those ranges is basic.
Oh, okay.
So to make sure then that it has to be approved by the medical staff. So if you have a lab value where the ranges have changed across the board, now this is just not for our facility. Every facility may have a different range, but this was a common range that we wanted to.
Then you would see on when you had the health fair.
Yes,
those ranges where it said between 0.1 and 0.5, you're normal.
Yeah, they just wanted to make sure that everybody was on board. The medical staff approved that those ranges were accurate for what they wanted to see.
All right, very good. So now I know. Now I'm educated. See, you learn something every single day. All right, we already talked about the money coming from the state.
Mm-hmm.
A tentative strategic planning update is going to be held May the 10th.
So we're looking at incorporating with our strategic plan all of our employees. Historically, we just looked at our medical staff, our board, administration, but we want to involve all of our employees. You know, they may have some input of what they see the hospital future, of what we want to have, what we want to strive for. Our community health needs assessment is going to be a big portion of that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking at getting a survey out to our employees to say, hey, what do you guys see? What do you want to see? And incorporate all that information. Then we'll bring it all together with our directors, our leadership, administration, the board, the med staff, and talk about all these points and see where do we want the strategy for Salem Hospital.
So is the survey going to go out in April? Is that
it's going to be coming hopefully pretty soon, within the next week or so.
End of March, early April. Okay, very good. You know, I was going to say May 10th's not far away.
No, it's not. That's why we need to get that information out so we can get some data and some metrics to be able to talk.
All right. And the medical staff bylaw review was voted on by the board.
And it was approved.
It was approved. Attorney Mark Weaver wants to have a little wording change for some of some of this voting in the meeting, because there can be a problem with a quorum. Mm-hmm. Depending upon what the issue is. And so he has a new paragraph. Unfortunately, he did not have that prepared for the meeting.
Right.
He'll be bringing that to the next meeting. And you had ambulance you sold.
Yes, and I did not bring that paper. Who won that
Commercial Bus
and
Vehicle LLC, $2,013.
Correct. Yep.
You went in a closed session. Any votes? Anything you can tell me about?
No, it was actually pretty quick meeting. And
not a 5-hour meeting this time?
Hey, I'll take it.
Very good. Very good.
I mean, still lots of good discussion, but it was more
on point.
On point.
Yeah. Well, which is good.
Yep.
And again, we are in March, and that was the last full meeting of that board. Mm-hmm. That they'll all be in closed session, and that's why I kind of thought it might take a little longer to get through, because don't know who's going to be on the board.
Sure.
You know, there are some challenged positions there. And so, you know, a lot of times in the last board meeting, people want to get their last words out just in case, you know, or they want to set the stage for the next board meeting and say, hey, this is what I see, and if I am reelected, I'm going to be pushing for this.
Sure. Yeah.
Which is perfectly good to do.
Absolutely.
No. Well, I do want to tell you, my friend, I do appreciate you coming in and the job that you're doing. keep up the good work. You know,
appreciate
I know it's one short, small step at a time to get.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it is, and it's a battle. You've gotten a little grayer since.
You mean I actually have hair? No.
You know, I know, not that part.
Not much.
That's the facial hair down here. It's getting a little grayer. But no, we all get that way, so don't feel like you're the only
Sure.
one doing that. But we want to thank Jason. He's done a fantastic job filling in, trying to walk some of these tight ropes that you have to do.
Sure.
Try and stay on top of this. And this is, I know this is something you had wanted to do when Chris Strickland was here, and he was kind of I'll say mentoring you. I was going to say monitoring your progress because you guys didn't really have that long a time together, but mentoring you a little bit. So hopefully it sounds like some of that has worked for you.
Well, it's an ever-changing battle with rural health. You know,
Well, I'm sure it is.
You're stepping into not much transition, so coming in and really trying to focus and trying to fix the holes if there are holes, and trying to fix holes while things are changing is very difficult. So, there's always you have to make huge changes sometimes and do what's best for Salem Hospital. Ultimately, it comes down to doing what's best for Salem Hospital and the community.
And stepping in like you did, and I'll toot your horn a little bit here.
Don't do it too loud.
No, I'm not going to do it too loud. But you had to actually listen more than talk, because you're stepping into a situation where, okay, I don't have all the answers, but I need to find out a lot of data. I need to get a lot of information. Then you formulate that information into maybe hypotheticals and stuff of that nature. So where you can say, okay, if we were doing this or doing this, if we were doing this right, where would we be? What are we doing now? How can we fix it? I mean, there's a lot of hypotheticals that come out of that listening. As you all well know, everybody's got a great idea. It's how can that idea be implemented and work at Salem Hospital? Because you might see something work at Texas County, you might see something work at Sullivan that would not work at Salem.
Yeah.
So it's just because it's worked other places.
Right.
It's not automatic.
It's not automatic, and especially being a critical access hospital, it's different compared to these other hospitals.
Right.
So it's difficult, but it comes down to that one team, one fight, one family.
Yeah.
We stick in it together, and we work together and get to the ultimate job done.
Well, you've done a great job, my
thank
friend. I really do appreciate you coming in, spending some time with us, and being out there in the public. You're doing a good job, and I hope and I know that it's not an easy job. Gosh, one I probably wouldn't want.
Well, if
I'm
it's an
sure
easy job, everybody would do it, right?
That's what they always tell me. If it was easy, everybody would want to do it. But there's a lot of parts to it. And being familiar with the hospital, and you're born and raised here, and your family was in the hospital. So this isn't new to you, but it's still, you're doing an incredible job to get the hospital, trying to get it back on track. And we do appreciate that.
Well, it's a team effort. Not
Jason, yeah, there
always
you
say
go.
team.
Jason Edwards, our interim CEO of the Salem Hospital. We appreciate it, my friend.
Thank you.
Thank you
Appreciate
very much.
you.
All right, keep it right here. Civic happenings are coming up. It's 9:30.